girl's brain and soul, aka her ghost, inhabit a synthetic body, and she works as a law operative. However, she goes rogue when she learns the truth behind her creation. I should also put out the disclaimer that I haven't seen any Ghost in the Shell source material prior to viewing this movie. This is a blank slate impression.
The good.
Based on what I saw in the movie, this was a really cool concept and something worth exploring. There are a lot of great moments in this film that deal with the nature of being synthetic. These scenes have good touches to how they're done, and they're among the best parts of the movie. The technology of this movie, namely the capabilities of the various synthetic body parts, was also really interesting to see, especially the way camouflage abilities were utilized during action scenes.
The iffy.
The action in this movie isn't the most amazing thing ever, it does what it needs to do for the story, but that's a good thing because it doesn't overdo itself. The action element isn't overused in this movie, which allows a decent chunk of its runtime to be dedicated to telling the story. Controversy was raised over this movie because it cast Scarlett Johansson as the main character in a source material where the lead character was Asian. I do find that a bit of an odd choice because the aesthetic of the city that this movie takes place in draws a lot from Asian culture. And on top of that, 3 Asian actors are cast in this movie as supporting characters. That being said, based on the demands of the story, it's a brain and a spirit inside of a synthetic body, so technically you could cast literally anyone of any race, creed, gender, walk of life, whatever, as the main character of this movie. I do think representation is an important issue that needs attention in American-made media. However, the ultimate thing at the end of the day is that whoever is cast as a character should be right for that character and should give a good performance as that character.
The bad.
And unfortunately, that doesn't quite happen in this movie. Most of the cast in this movie gives mellow and unemotional performances that leave weak impressions of the characters. Which is especially unfortunate for Scarlett Johansson, who had the most to live up to. Not only because her casting was the center of the controversy surrounding this movie, but because I've seen her give better performances in other movies. As I said earlier, I really enjoyed the concept behind this movie, and given the fact that there's a Ghost in the Shell franchise, I know that there's a lot of potential for what can be done with this idea. But the general execution of that story, coupled with this movie's mellow acting style, just makes it feel like it's going through the motions. And it's disappointing to see a cool idea like this not have the weight behind it that it should, and not living up to its full potential.
The verdict?
This movie showcased the concept it was based on well enough, to the point that I actually do want to watch the anime it was based on. That being said, its own execution of those ideas was not very solid. This is Detective Steve, and this American adaptation of Japanese source material wasn't great, but it's probably far from the worst.